There's a good reason why people love music so much. When we listen to a song that we love, or when we practice an instrument, or even when we hum quietly to ourselves, something begins to shift inside. Music has a remarkable ability to help us process emotions. And I didn't always understand this growing up, but looking back on it now, I can see it very clearly. When I was younger, I used to spend hours practicing my instrument, long stretches at a time, just repeating things, playing the same passages over and over. And after those sessions, I would often feel very calm, very relaxed. At the time, I didn't think much about why that was happening, but now I realize something important was taking place. When you practice an instrument for a long period of time, you're actually entering a very similar state to meditation. You go into a quiet space. You focus on something repetitive. Your attention becomes absorbed in sound and movement. And while all of that is happening, something else begins to occur in the background. Your emotions start to move. When we play music, especially music that we feel connected to, we begin expressing emotions safely. Instead of pushing those emotions onto other people, we release them through sound. And that's a very healthy thing to do. Because sometimes in life, when our emotions build up inside us, we don't quite know what to do with them. Emotions like frustration, sadness, excitement, and stress, all of that emotional energy needs somewhere to go. And if we don't give it a healthy outlet, sometimes it spills out in ways we don't intend. But music can become a safe place for that energy, a private place, a place where we can process what's going on inside us without judgment. And interestingly, the music itself doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't even have to be good. This isn't about performance, this is about release. Because what often happens when emotions are not allowed to move is that they become overly charged, almost like an electrical current building up inside the body. When we don't allow emotions to pass through us, they can become intensely uncomfortable. But the interesting thing is that the easiest way to discharge that energy is actually to sit with it. Not run away from it, not fight it, just sit with it. And sometimes music gives us just enough space to do that. Toning, humming, or playing an instrument creates a kind of buffer. It allows you to notice the emotion without becoming completely lost in it. A little bit like stepping back and observing. You can become curious about what you're feeling. What is the sensation? What is the energy moving through me? Rather than the mind going straight into panic. Help, I need this to stop. It's a little bit like when you have a headache. If you become completely fixated on wanting the pain to disappear as quickly as possible, something strange happens. The attention locks onto the pain and the tension holds it in place. But sometimes when you allow the sensation to simply be there, when you stop fighting it, the intensity begins to soften. The same thing often happens with emotions, and sound can help us to create that space. It gently moves the mind away from the obsession of wanting discomfort to disappear, and instead allows us to observe what is actually happening. You could almost think of it like being inside a virtual reality game. Imagine putting on a VR headset. For the first hour or so, everything that happens inside that world feels, a little amusing. Even if something strange happens to your character, you might think, wow, that's really interesting. Look what's happening to my avatar. There's a curiosity, a sense of play. But if you stayed in that virtual world for years, eventually you might forget that you're playing a character. You might start believing that the avatar is you. And then if something attacks your character, panic appears. Suddenly it feels personal. Suddenly it feels like you must escape. And when panic takes over, clarity disappears. But when we step back even just a little, something shifts. curiosity returns, and sound can help us create that small step back. So here's a simple practice you can try. Choose an instrument, or even just your voice. Find a small musical idea. It can be a short melody or a simple tone, maybe even just a single note, and repeat it, not as a performance, not to impress anyone, just repeat it for yourself. You might want to set a timer and ideally give yourself about 21 minutes. Something interesting tends to happen around that point. At first, the mind is busy. You might start judging yourself. I'm not playing this very well. This sounds strange. My voice doesn't sound right. And that's completely normal. Just notice those thoughts and keep going. After a while, the mind begins to settle. The repetition starts to work like meditation, and slowly the emotional energy that's been circling around inside you begins to move. You don't need to force it. You don't even need to understand it. Just allow the sound to carry it. And remember, this doesn't have to be done on an instrument. Your voice works beautifully. You can hum, you can tone, you can sing a single vowel sound. Sound has a way of moving through the body and allowing emotions to pass through us instead of staying stuck. And that's really the key idea here. Sometimes we're not overwhelmed by emotions. Sometimes we're just holding on to them too tightly. Music gives us a gentle way to let go, and it's worth remembering something else too. When you see musicians play beautifully, it can sometimes become a little intimidating. We see someone play an incredible piece of music and we think, wow, I wish I could do that. And then fear creeps in. Maybe I'm not good enough. But that fear is just drama that the mind adds to the situation. Music was never meant to be about trophies. It's not a sport. It was meant to be about playing, about expression, about release. Because sometimes when someone releases their emotions through music, a beautiful song appears, and that song then helps others to release their emotions as well. Listeners hear it, they play it again and again, and eventually something inside them begins to soften. That's one of the quiet miracles of music. So there's nothing wrong with having favourite artists. We're inspired by them for a reason. But it's helpful not to turn that inspiration into idol worship. There's an old saying, don't meet your heroes, otherwise you'll be disappointed. Because sometimes when we meet them, you realise, well, they're just human, flawed, complicated, just like the rest of us. And that's actually the point. The beauty isn't that musicians are perfect. The beauty is that they found a way to release something real. And we can do the same thing. Music isn't about performance, it's about emotional digestion. So this week you might like to try this simple experiment. Find a quiet space, choose a sound, and repeat it, and allow whatever needs to move inside you to move. You might be surprised by how much lighter you feel afterwards, and sometimes the simplest musical practices are the most powerful.